So good morning, everyone. This is Veronica Dolcik, the co-chair of CRC. Today is Monday, September 9th, and it is now 10:36. We are beginning our meeting. So first, I'd like to establish quorum. Well, before I do that, this meeting is being held in a hybrid fashion, so all votes need to be taken by roll call. And please be careful not to share your screen as can be seen by others. All right, so let's establish quorum. So first, Sue Minthinen,
Present.
John Balash,
John Balash is present.
Linda Williams,
Here.
Veronica Bolchik, here. All right, can I have a approval of the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second,
Okay, Sue Minthinen,
Aye.
John Balash,
aye.
Linda Williams,
Aye.
Veronica, aye. So next on to public comment. I don't see any public in the waiting room.
I've got Joanna logging in.
Oh, good.
Did we do roll call attendance?
Yes, we did.
Okay,
So
yeah.
I'm gonna wait for 2 seconds when Joanna joins us. Good morning, Joanna.
Good morning. Sorry I'm
Okay.
late.
That's quite all right. We will establish that you joined us at 10:38. We just did roll call, approval of the agenda, public comment. And before we go on, Sue Minthinen has a hard stop at 10:55. So she'll be jumping off at that point, but if Joanna, you stay on, we'll still have a quorum at that point.
And I can't stay too much after 11:15. I have an HTC filing before noon.
Okay, well, we hopefully will be done by then. This meeting was originally scheduled for 10 a.m. However, when the agenda went to be filed on Thursday morning, there was a backup of filings being done, and our filing wasn't made until, what does it say,
30.
10:30, 10:20 or something like that, so we needed to move this meeting time back to 10:30, so apologize for that. And appreciate everyone's time commitment. So the next thing we have on the agenda is approval of minutes from 8/7/24, 1/11/24, 1/29/24, 3/05/24, and 3/25/24. Before that, I want to thank Lexi for getting those done. I personally found it a challenge to go back and review these minutes, because that stuff is all the way in the rear filing cabinet of my brain, but, anyway, can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as submitted.
Okay, second?
Second.
All right, I'll do a vote. Sue,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Joanna,
Aye.
Linda,
Aye.
and myself, Veronica, aye. Alrighty. Next on our list is election of officers for the 2024-25
Calendar.
calendar.
I'll make a motion to nominate you as the chairman. I'll second that.
Can I have discussion before calling a vote on this?
Yes.
Okay. So I will gladly accept the nomination if voted, but I would like to make a different motion. If possible,
Propose a different.
propose a different motion of having a co-chair. And rather than being the chair, and I would like to with her approval, and I don't know, would be to have Dorothy as the co-chair.
No, I'm not willing to do that. I'm willing to give you a vice chair I'm not willing to give you Dorothy as the chair, period. I don't
We
mind
would-
if it's myself as co-chair or Sue as co-chair or Joanne as co-chair or John as co-chair. But I'm not willing to put Dorothy as chair, and not at this point and not after the last couple of years. I have to be blunt about that.
And we
I
would
love
have,
her, but I can't do that again. Not with the way she treats the staff, that doesn't respond to Jericho. I can't have her in a position of authority. And when she goes and she talks to applicants and grantees on her own and doesn't respond to the agenda, et cetera, et cetera, I think it's time to move on and have her be a great member. But I cannot, in all good conscience, have her as a chair. There's just too many reasons why not.
so it is. We could have the vice chair discussion at a later meeting when she's present. I don't think we can nominate and elect someone for a position that they're not here for.
So I just
Um,
as soon move the question that we just voted. I mean, we just motioned. We got to have a chair.
Agreed, we have to have a chair, but I will strongly push to have, if not a co-chair, a vice chair. And I also, I understand everything you're saying, Linda, but I also know that we're going through, coming up a year of, lots of changes that potentially will be coming down the road, and having institutional knowledge and the support of the positive that Dorothy can bring, I strongly would suggest that.
That's why I'm saying that having her be a member and contributing as the rest of us do as members is a positive. Having her in a position of authority is not. I've been there. This is my third go around on this group. John's been around a long time. Joanne's been around at least 2 years now. I've watched what's happened. I
Well,
cannot have her in a position of authority. I mean, I was on CRC 20 years ago when we sort of just started forming it. Then I went off, then I came back, then I went off, but I've been through this and I've seen it all. And most groups that I'm on right now have a vice chair, not a co-chair. So if for some reason you're not there, you're in Georgia, we have a vice chair. But I cannot have her in a position of authority representing this group without us knowing what's going on, without Jerica knowing what's going on. And I know the report's coming up next month. I can't do it. I just as
Well-
soon vote you in as chair right now and get that out of the way. We were supposed to do it in July.
So Linda, are you willing to have Dorothy as the vice chair?
Not really, but you know, we just have to go forward here and get a grip on our process.
And this is a procedural question, does the person who's being nominated need to be present at the meeting to accept, or
I
can it be
believe-
Normally.
done
Normally,
believe
normally?
My
think so
suggestion.
too.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
my suggestion for this is that we make the chair election here. The next agenda would include the discussion of a vice chair position. Because I
Yeah.
think you are correct, because this is going to be a transitional year. There's going to be probably more than average asked of all the members and the chairs and vice chairs. Having a second position to distribute the load would be a helpful thing. I do not
Yep.
believe we can do that without Dorothy being present.
Right. So, then, with agreement, we can proceed with a vote, for the chair position. Having, do we do a show of hands? Do we do a roll call?
It's real.
Roll
Well,
call?
someone has
call.
to someone
need a
has to
motion.
second.
I
Yes,
second.
oh, they
so-
did. They
I
did.
second.
Okay, so
Yeah.
now you just do a roll call vote.
Right. Okay. All right, so Linda?
So the motion,
Motion. the vote.
nominate Veronica for chair of the contract review committee.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was my motion. That was the second. Yes, I'm all in favor.
Okay, Joanna,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
and Veronica, I, but, with
There's no buts here.
reservation that, no, no, if
No
it's a but.
buts. No
Okay.
buts.
Aye, and we will proceed with adding onto next agenda, a vote for a vice chair position.
Yep.
All right, so thank you, everyone, and I appreciate your support, and as I said, I think this is going to be a positive year going forth, but I also know that it's gonna be a difficult one, so I appreciate
A lot of
everyone's support.
changes. There's going to be a lot of changes and a lot of, the process is going to change. Everything's going, we just got to move forward now. We just can't be
Right.
stuck in the mud.
Thank you. Sue?
I just wanted to thank Chair Bolchik for taking on this daunting task. I appreciate the willingness to serve.
I certainly say that, I certainly second that idea.
I tripled second, third, and fourth that idea.
Thank you, thank you. Well, let's get on with business. Thank you, I appreciate it. Next,
May I just very briefly?
yes,
So I think Lexi sent out the notice about the October 7th meeting. Zoom details will be forthcoming, but that is a presentation between us, the Council for Human Services, members of the Select Board, and Town Administration, where we'll get the briefing from Raftellus Consultancy. We'll have proper calendar invites out for you, but we just wanted to get you guys to reserve the time. Do you remember what the time for that was?
3
3
o'clock.
to 5.
3 o'clock. And I assume that that will not be in the trailer here, but hopefully over at Fairgrounds.
I think it is
I
virtually.
think it's room A, unfortunately.
Okay,
That you were thinking about like for like the training room or something.
right,
I believe it's scheduled to be there.
okay,
There will be a hybrid component, but town admin did indicate they would prefer as much in person as possible.
Well, I had mentioned last month that I am not here. I'm in New Hampshire and I'm in the middle of the Freiburg Fair that entire day. So
I'll
there's
see
no
that.
computer and I may need a phone thing, but I'm not going to be on the phone on the Ferris wheel, if you catch my drift.
You should, that would be a great place to do a meeting, to be entirely honest.
Yeah,
But
so I may not be able to get there at all, depending on what the
We'll have-
reception is there.
we'll have it recorded for you, and if you have any questions, I can pass them on to Raftellus. It's not, unfortunately, this is not my meeting and I cannot reschedule.
Well, if you can give me the phone connection, I'll try to phone in. So I'm at least listening,
Will do.
because there's not going to be any computer over there, I can tell you that.
Joanna, you said.
I can come. I'm fine.
Okay.
okay. And I will be here in person also. I've rearranged to travel. So thank you.
I'll be here I hope I can get in, if it's in Fairgrounds. I know how to do that.
It'll be here at the trailer next to Stop and Shop too.
Right,
There
It's
is a
always-
ramp. There is a ramp up the side
Okay, I
to the other
If,
room.
if it's absolutely necessary, I can make it.
We'll make it work for you, whatever is most convenient, John.
right.
I'll make it work.
Okay. In case.
Be in
you
my
can't-
third leg.
Okay. It's a very important one, but in case not, it is gonna be done hybrid also, so, everyone, and Linda, thank you for, trying to get a telephone connection to it. So on to the discussion of the RFP for 2026. And, you know, I know that, as I said, we're going into a year of change with whatever Raftellus is coming up with, the timing of their findings does not allow for any significant change into what we're doing right now. However, from what I understand, and Jericho confirmed this, that we do have the ability to change certain portions of the RFP and the rubric that goes along with it. So I know that we had, asked for input on rubric ideas and just changes after last meeting, and I think, does everyone up on screen have a copy of?
You should have all of the documents, the rubric and then the RFP. The rubric is Human Services Rubric FY 25 document, and then CRC submission packet. I can share my screen so that we can all be looking at the same document if you prefer. Additionally, I have the comments from several members of the committee. I have not shared them out because they're still in draft form, but I threw them all into a single document and can share a screen with the comments if you prefer, if that's the best way to do.
I think share screen is a good idea.
Yeah, I have some questions. I did spend some time with this, but I did not send you my comments because I felt like it was a confusing task from the perspective of I didn't really understand what it was we could change. Because when I look at this from a holistic standpoint, I'm not sure this is the right approach. And my question was, what are we legally required, right? So that I was unable to separate from what you sent us any legal requirements versus the decisions that we could make. You follow me?
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's why I didn't send you. I have a bunch of notes and I'm happy to send them to you. It seemed that my notes weren't going to be productive until we had a larger conversation for the document actually are.
So
Would it make sense to start looking at the actual application and what can be changed and what can't be changed? And
Like, for example, let me give you for example. So like in the comparative criteria, can any of those things be actually changed?
we should have share going up now. Can everyone see Town of Nantucket agreement between the town and?
No.
We see your folder.
Not the document.
All right, hold on.
I have the stuff you sent me printed out, but that's not the agreement with the town.
So you have one of those, one of those two documents is what we've been calling the RFP.
Yes.
Yeah, there's two documents, correct. One of
Yeah.
them is, it is exec contract review committee, human
Oh, it is,
services
yep.
grants FY 2025. And then it
Yep.
goes through the proposal for the grant, and then you get into something called comparative criteria. Then on top of that, there
rubric.
is these, there's other pages, and then there is this mission statement and organizational history, this very long questionnaire. And then there is the rubric. So, yes, so you know my question. The question is,
Yes.
what are we allowed to change?
right,
So if we're now looking at the document of, agreement with the town. Essentially, from this agreement,
We don't have that. I don't have that.
I don't have that.
Neither do I.
but I not, should be,
Is it in the packet, the RFP packet with the fancy front page, or is it a different document? Because I don't
No,
have,
it's not in that document, Linda. I have
That
that
is-
printed
so
out.
I don't have this either.
that was my mistake. I thought I had sent that out, I did not, apologies, yes, Sue.
right.
It's 10:56. I need to remove myself.
Understood?
Okay.
Thanks,
Alrighty.
everybody.
Thank you, Sue, and we will
Bye.
continue to go forward. Thank you. All right,
So,
we still have quorum.
yeah, and then So I think what I did is I sent just that page, right?
Exactly. We got the page that says mission statement, organization, history, and then there were a series of period of implementation. Describe the purpose of the program going on.
So everything I sent you is entirely up to us to determine. The only things that cannot be changed are these boilerplate, this, not boilerplate, these are the standard grant agreements between the town and all of the bodies that it awards grants to. These will not change, until this coming spring, when we sit down as a group with CHS and finance to determine how we can tweak this agreement in the legal sense. But at the moment, everything
Okay,
from,
can you send us this?
it should be, but you mean this, the standard form?
Yes, I
Whatever we're
don't have
looking at.
this.
I don't
Yeah.
have whatever we're looking at.
Me either.
What does the front page of this thing look like?
It looks like this, but this is the thing that we're looking at now, we cannot change.
I understand, but
I
I want
know,
to
but
be,
I still want to see it. Like,
yeah, I
Okay.
want to read it so that I
Okay.
understand what it says in there.
Okay. Stop share.
Okay.
Right. And Jericho, do I understand what you sent us
There should-
was the organizational information from this packet? And it starts with mission statement and organizational history, and then it goes down to describe the role of volunteers. I think is the last
Yes.
in this.
And the rubric is included into the grant agreement because it's the criteria by which we are judging submissions. Rubric is not binding, like you can award it regardless of the rubric results. But the rubric is there to show the people submitting what their grant is being evaluated
Right.
along.
Right.
Right.
right,
Right.
I don't have I don't have anything that says mission statement. I don't know what I'm looking at compared to the rest of you, but I don't have anything that says mission statement on it.
Okay.
I will send that.
What I have is contract review, CRC, Human Services Grants, FY 25. Release date, et cetera, and that's pretty much general information submission requirements. Then I have the rubric, which was the next attachment. But I don't
It's
have
page
anything
11.
that says
Wait,
anything.
it's page 11. So it's in that packet, but it's page
Just
11.
printed it.
Then
So
look at
I
page-
go all the way up to page 12.
No. I don't have mission, I don't have anything that says mission and statement, nothing. Nothing.
It
And I've just
has
gone through all of my emails.
mission statement and organizational history, period. of
I don't have that. I do not
Nothing?
have that, no. And I've done a search in here for stuff.
It should be CRC FY 25 bids and human services rubric.
I have
Regardless
that,
of-
but I have nothing that says mission statement. Whatever it was you were reading, I don't have it because my page
You
11 has nothing to do with that. So I'm looking through all the stuff that I've gotten from you because I don't get rid of any of it. You're gonna have to resend that.
Okay.
I'll print that one.
So
Okay,
what is
well-
the best? Just Veronica, what is the
Yes.
best way to facilitate this conversation? Right, because now that I understand that there's a contract that goes with this, that are the town's requirements that are binding, okay? Right? When I look at this, I think that it could be simplified.
Mhm. Right,
And I think that we're missing a few things that could be added.
So the actual grant agenda, like the section up until mission statement, is something that needs to be worked on with finance and is out of scope for us to evaluate before we release, because
Alright.
any major changes in that would require legal review. And we would, that was something I wanted us to do starting in June of this year, but we didn't get meetings together in that interval. And so we're now
But
late.
but Jericho, I just asked you that question and you just said the only thing that we couldn't change was the contract.
For this cycle, yes.
But
So,
this list of questions here, these can be changed.
Yes.
but you just said no, that they couldn't be, that they had to go to finance.
Let me
Or
share, the document, so we're all looking at the same thing. So on the section that begins an agreement between the town. The section that goes until page,
I'm talking about section 4, comparative criteria.
so yes, so I added those to the rubric. They're included in that section after review with finance 2 years ago. That's why it was a thing that we could add in. We can change the rubric because it's just the evaluation. It's a different way to get the same questions that are in the narrative section. And the things like the term of service, the nature of the agreement, what documents are required for them to qualify for this grant, we cannot change.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
I think so.
Okay.
Sorry,
Okay.
I am sorry
So
about this.
if we go back to the things that we can change. It starts with, and there's some things here that I think should just stay and we need to improve. So the first thing is the mission statement and organizational history, 500 words or less. That is standard. All right. The period of implementation is basically, that also is outlining, the programming time for the organization, so that is something that is appropriate. Description of the proposal program project for which you are applying for funding. 500 words or less. Agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay,
What exactly am I looking at now? Because I have everything up on my computer.
I'm showing the screen right now, Linda. You should be able to look at this.
Which is, okay,
Okay,
all right. So now,
as I say, I can't just pick this thing apart today. I have to file stuff at the HDC before noon.
all right, we need to, this has to be done very soon, very soon.
I don't mind meeting again. I'm fine.
Okay,
so the plan is to release this with a month of lead time for agencies to do the submission.
Good thing. What is the deadline for submissions this year?
We are determining that right now. I want to give everyone a month to do their submissions so that we can get a
Okay.
substantially different grant proposal than we've gotten in the previous years. And I
Yep.
want us to have this narrative section ironed out, and I want us to look at, agree, and tweak the rubric so that we're in agreement on what each thing means. Bert last year made up an excellent point, which is that there is some ambiguity in what each of the things mean, because I had to throw it together at the last minute. But if we have a discussion ahead of that and we're all looking at it, we can tweak what those particular things are. My suggestion on this is that we have these narrative questions tightened up so that they answer the questions that we have commonly about agencies when they come in. There's a ton of things that we ask for and a ton of things that we don't hear about, and then so if we can get whatever those questions in here as best we can now, that'll save us time, and it'll mean that the agencies are better presenting their programs.
Yes,
This-
this is exactly where I would like to go with this conversation, which is I think that there should be a fact sheet that they are required to provide us that has a bunch of metrics on them so that we have background information in a very succinct, short form. So for example, it should be a fact sheet that says, what is your operating budget? What is the number of full and part-time staff? How many members?
How
of the
many people do you
community
serve? Yeah, how
Correct.
many do you serve?
What is what is the cost per service, right? Like some very basic metric questions, because we ask these questions when we interview these people. We basically
don't have
ask
the
the same
answer.
questions every year and they don't have the answers. They are
Exactly.
So
Okay,
this is why, this is what I was saying with regard to the rubric. The other thing is that I don't feel that we define a program. And I think that we need to define the program. Define what is a program, right? So for example, let's go to, I'm getting at this issue of operational support that is unrestricted versus restricted grant, right? And we have not really defined this, and I think we need to. We have been giving unrestricted grants to some people and restricted grants to others, and that's not good.
I think that, oh,
yeah,
sorry.
can we do that in this cycle? That we have two different levels of grant?
No,
One,
it has to be,
No,
we cannot have differentiation between the way the grants apply to the agencies. All agencies must be treated the same under the
Okay.
grant.
but
So
in the specifications, we can say this is operational support, or this is new programming or new,
In the
for a
recommend,
specific program.
it should be on this fact sheet that they are submitting to us. Right,
Mhm.
so, yes, I think so, but that's why I wanted to look at the contract, Jericho, to make sure, like, what does it say? Does it say operational, or does it say restricted, or does it say program? Like, that's the thing we need to be in alignment with.
the contract does not specify, but the contract includes a point that that reimbursement is dependent upon satisfaction by the committee or the staff. So what you can say is, when we give a recommendation, like last year, when we gave the recommendation for interfaith council, it was split into 3 use cases and restricted. If we make sure that they're accounting for all expenses as part of a particular program, getting back to that program or organizational funding, then we can require that to be the case when we give the handout, and then
Okay.
the final point in the grant agreement allows us to reimburse money when we collect information that satisfies
Okay,
us.
but Jericho, that's a good point there, because with the example you gave, it wasn't received with the understanding that it was restricted. And if we are giving it as restricted, it needs to be outlined that way. Which goes to, maybe when we finally get this done, have an informational session with all potential grant applicants and explain that.
And that is absolutely, like, every place else we looked at has a lot more education between
Right.
the equivalent of this board and the people applying for it. Since we are now 3 months behind where I wanted us to be at, I don't think that we should go too crazy changing this, because we're going to be doing this again in the spring with external facilitation in concert with finance, so that we can change the grant agreement to nail the things that we want to. What I think that we should focus on now are the narrative questions, so that we get we get well-formed responses, and the rubric, so we have an explicit grading system.
Okay, but we could also do a operating budget, a chart, as Joanna is explaining, as part of,
Absolutely, that's a
So-
narrative question.
so it'll be one of the narrative questions, but it's basically, here's the chart, fill in the blank, and even if an organization has to put a non-applicable or a 0 or whatever, at least we'll be comparing, we'll be able to see where everyone falls. It'll
Well,
be more
I
objective.
again, I'm just gonna, I agree with some of that, but I think the differentiation is, I don't think we should be going through another grant cycle where we get, where we are giving both operational and restricted grants. I think that is probably very messy. And I think the thing is that what's happened over the course of the last few years on this committee is that because of the way that we have languaged some of these applications, people have tried to put in operational support as programs, right, to sort of get around that. And we've become wise to the fact that that's what's happening. And what we can do is tighten up what we're doing so that we are getting requests for programs, not operational support, right? And I think that the questions that we're developing on this sheet need to direct people to programs. Now, I don't want to look, as a matter of fact, I think it's very bad that we looked at budgets last year that had line items in the budget under grants for this money. I think that that is not good.
Right.
And I think we need to tell the people in advance, we don't want to see that. Like, you cannot put in CRC money into your operating budget as a line item.
Right. And I will just make a bird brain example of that. If we are funding a bird feeding organization, that you can apply for specialized feed for the yellow-bellied sapsuckers or whatever, and that would be appropriate because it would be a program for a specific thing, as opposed to saying this money is just part of our operating budget. Correct?
Yes.
All right, so
Yes.
it's gonna be training our grant applicants what we fund and how they need to apply for the funding.
Right.
Okay,
Right. And also the thing that we're looking for in their operational budget is how they handled the grant money. So we should be able to see in their budget a line that is grant revenue, and then we should be able to see in their expenses. So that's under revenue. And then in their expenses, we should be able to see how much did it cost? Like, what were the expenses associated with the grants? Because in the ideal world, and you can tell I did spend some time thinking about this, the quarterly reports that we get from each of these organizations should align with their financial statement, right? And we're not doing that,
right,
right?
Right.
So we should have every member of this committee should be able to look at the quarterly reports from each organization we gave a grant to and be able to match them back to the operating budget that they give us, because that is appropriate fiscal management,
right,
right?
And the other thing that we are absolutely going to get out of probably not before this cycle, but in the spring, when we iron this out in collaboration with all the various stakeholders, is going to be a standardized financial report for every agency that gets through
Yes.
here. It's used every quarter and is also used during the application process.
Right.
And I think we need to be clear right now, we are funding programs, and we need to
Right.
say that explicitly when we're putting this together and when we're messaging it out.
Right.
Okay.
Well, you're hearing what you're hearing what I'm
Yes.
saying. I feel we
Yes.
need to have like a paragraph in this application where it says, this is what a program is, right? A program is a thing that has a start and a finish. It has a budget, it has expenses, It is not $100,000 that goes to offset your salary line in your budget,
Yeah.
right? A program is finite, right?
Right,
Or like, for example, and I do this all the time, you can apply for a grant to buy a piece of equipment, right? So say one of these places needs a piece of equipment for a program, like that would be a legitimate expense. And
Right.
that would be a thing to apply for. So we could give some examples. What it cannot, and it could be like, it can support a salary, but the salary has to be part of a program. It can't just be an overall salary. And so this is how we can get to making sure our money is working for us with some of these programs that we funded, where when we're presented with their proposal, they're saying, we're gonna hire 4 to 12 outreach counselors. And then we don't really know if that happened. And then they come back to us the next year and we say, how many people did you hire? And they say, well, we could only hire 3. Well, we gave you a grant that was for more than that, and we're not now sure what you did with the money because the quarterly reports don't align with your financials or what you're asking us for this year. And that's the thing that I have seen happen year over year over year, right? Or we have people requesting grants that don't actually qualify for the grants, right?
Oh, for like the
Like
houses for humanity?
Habitat. for
Yep, or even the Artist Association. And I would say that in advance of this grant application, Veronica, this might be something for you. We should reach out to the Artist Association and say, listen, unless you have art therapists who are part of this program, you can't apply for the grant this year. That was our condition last year. You could apply for another grant, right? But you have to meet the criteria.
Exactly, exactly,
On that specific one,
yes,
they should, because they will not find a replacement that meets the particular threshold that they had for the initial therapeutic healing through the arts thing. So that would mean tweaking the program and changing it so that it does, yeah.
and they.
I don't
and
want
they
to
can-
disqualifying.
Right, no, they
qualified
can
programs.
tweak the program and just say it's, tuition support for X, Y, and Z, but not call it.
They're healing, like they literally.
Correct.
Something is a
Correct.
specific program.
Right. Right. We can't fund a therapeutic arts program that is not run by art therapists.
Right. Or been trained in a specific
Well, that-
program,
That's a brand, that's
a brand,
essentially a brand.
exactly,
They would need to like, in my opinion, just to hit that threshold, because they have added a ton of education, they've added QPR, they've added trauma-informed care, but it's not gonna reach a dedicated behavioral health nurse NP administering a program, like that's out of scope for any art or organization, and most behavioral health organizations on Nantucket.
okay.
Right,
Knowing
because-
the-
Because
I'm
this,
sorry.
what we're talking about gets us away from this debate we've been having, which is the value of these organizations, and into the debate of the value of the programming.
Exactly,
And that's where we need to be.
right, and it has to be something that is objective that we can evaluate.
Yep.
Right,
That has an
So-
impact, a measurable impact.
exactly.
So
Exactly, and this can all happen now. In addition to whatever the recommendations of Raftellus is gonna be and where it goes, because this is something that can, if it works well, carry over into years to come.
Yeah.
And that-
in,
this is one of the things we would end up doing, if we don't do it now,
Now.
we'll end up doing it then, this is reusable.
right, it's reusable. Linda, I know that you are tight for time, and I'm trying to make a suggestion for how we can move forward with this, because Linda, when you leave us, we don't have quorum. So.
It's all right if you established a quorum, I can still leave. The issue, I'm just listening to the discussion. I don't want to forget, I mean, we're all great numbers, all this other crap. I'm a little bit more of an organic because I've worked with a lot of these groups personally, but my worry is that we're going to forget about the human part of this thing. It's human services. We can get all lost in the matrices and the numbers. And I said this last year when I was concerned about this, that we can't forget that there are humans here that are getting served. It's not all about always the money. It's about, boots on the ground. I don't want to forget that. Well, we're all strapped to this matrix and strapped to the money and strapped to the accountability and strapped to the line items. I understand all that stuff. I'm the chairman of the CPC and we're dealing with $4 million a year. But I just worry that we're going to forget the human part of this.
Right.
Well, Linda, that
I
is,
agree.
all of us who have to
Yep.
keep that in mind, and where this will lead, it will lead to a more objective decision that we can make. As opposed to, they're nice people, and we want to make sure that we're gonna be giving nice people the money, but we need to be able to compare one to the other and how much, and this will be able to look at everyone and keep that human services umbrella over it.
Well, I think what I'm sort of, giving an example. I mean, you got Martha's Vineyard that maybe served 10 at a time. They've been down as far as 8. I think they're
Right.
up into the teens now versus something else that services 100 people. I don't
Right.
want those little guys are more important to me because the impact those smaller groups have on
greater.
the people they service is
Right.
greater.
100%. I agree with you, Linda, and I think the differentiation there is about the value of the service to the community, right?
Right.
So what you're saying is very accurate, and I wouldn't think that, the Martha's Vineyard organization who asks for, I think, $5,000 to $10,000 a year, who serve those people, I don't think they would ever get cut out, because that's the only way those people would ever have access to that service.
Exactly,
I
because
just
there
want to
are-
say that because I'm worried about these little guys.
Right. Right, because in my mind, that's like a bang for the buck type of thing, right? So for that investment, what the community gets back is significantly a larger return.
And remember, Linda, the rubric has multiple different points. The per person cost is at most one of those. And then in the final analysis, the rubric responses are not binding. We are not committed to spending it. You still have to exercise judgment as a committee member to determine it's not a computer program to spit out the proper response. It's not an algorithm. It's just a way for us to show our work and get more consistent responses from agencies. But it is a good thing we need to bring up and keep in our mind as we're doing this.
Right, right.
And
And,
I gotta go, guys. How much
Okay.
more do we have to go?
well, we have a significant amount to go, I think, before we can finalize this, but I don't know if we're gonna finalize it today. So I'm gonna make a suggestion that, we have a meeting, could we meet again later this week? Joanna, do you have any time, that, without violating quorum, I could sit with you and we can nail out a suggestion and present that at a meeting later this week, and then hopefully everything else fall in.
Well, don't we have a meeting next Monday?
The
No,
The
2
16th?
Mondays.
Oh, I have it that we have it on the 16th. What day is today? Today's the 19th.
I have 23rd. Let me just confirm, because I outsource all this stuff in my brain.
I don't mind meeting next Monday. I don't mind meeting Friday, either one.
You wanna
I-
get one on?
I can't
Yeah.
meet Friday, but
I
I can
can
meet next
Friday.
Monday.
Okay.
I can meet
Um,
next Monday, and this week I would have time on Thursday to talk with you, Victoria.
All right, Veronica, but,
Veronica, sorry, I'm looking at
That's
Victoria
all
on
right,
my
that's-
calendar.
that's quite all right. I get it all the time. I can meet on Thursday. I'm gonna be quite honest, I'm having surgery on Friday, and Monday I may be a little loopy. So,
Best time.
All right, guys, I gotta go. You gotta settle this.
And
Okay.
Monday is going to be difficult for me because I'm traveling starting early in the morning.
Okay. Can we meet on Thursday then? Thursday morning
As a committee?
as a committee? And
This Thursday.
Joanna, do you have any time between today and Wednesday? That I can just have like a half hour of your time? That we can nail something down to present?
I've
It
got
would-
ZBA, hang on, guys, I gotta go right now. I've got ZBA on Thursday, but I could meet earlier in the morning on Thursday.
All right.
Yeah,
All
I
right, so
can only meet-
I've gotta go, guys. I gotta go.
Okay,
We're not gonna be able to close the meeting, but that's okay. We'll
Yeah.
close it.
okay. All right, we will.
Yeah, you got time to
close our
post the meeting for Thursday.
Okay, and we will close the meeting at the first thing on our next meeting, because you're leaving, Linda, we don't have a quorum to close, so, good luck, Linda. and
Well,
we'll
I
let
can make
know
it, you
when-
can't close it at the next meeting. It's not legal to carry a meeting over. If you want to close the meeting right now, I can motion to adjourn right now.
Oh, right, so make a motion to adjourn, and then we will just, send out some dates. All right. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Thursday's fine with me in the morning. I'm fine with Thursday in the morning. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
What time, Linda, what time Thursday morning?
9, 10, doesn't matter,
Okay.
whatever's convenient.
Okay,
I can't, well,
all right. So a motion to adjourn?
I made it.
Okay,
Second.
second? Okay, Joanna, John,
Aye.
Linda,
Aye.
and Veronica, I. All right.
Thanks, Veronica.
All right,
I am
All right.
ending the recording, however.
okay, so let's get to